Hello and welcome to Brass Dragons Music. My name is Ralph Martin and today we're going to be talking about improvisation. Now I had a friend of mine send me a text message saying he saw some of my other videos and he was having some trouble with improvisation. Getting new ideas, getting outside of the box. He knows all the scales, major and minor, and he knows the modes, and he knows some, bebop scales and altered scales and chord scales he knows, but he's kind of lacking for ideas. So I'm going to give you some ideas to start with, and I'll be doing more to show you some different ideas, improvisation. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to take basically the first 4 bars of Autumn Leaves. Now, this is actually transposed for an E-flat instrument, but I'm going to play it in the key of G because it's a nice, easy key, and it worked well for the lesson, okay? So, it's normally done in B-flat major. We're going to do it in G major. Not a big deal, okay? Now, taken out of the real book, it's kind of square, okay? It's very straight ahead. And let me play it for you real quick as it's written, real straight. Okay? Nobody plays it that way. All right? Now it's written in 4/4, but most of the time people play it either very fast 4 or in 2. And then they also jazz it up a little bit. So it's probably more like okay? Very straight ahead. Nice and jazzy. Now the chords that go with this are real simple. Now I'm going to show you the analyzation of the chords, but they're as they're written here. If I were to do the whole melody, it would be a little different. Okay? But I'm just going to use the first 4 chords. I'll analyze it as if that was the whole tune. Okay, you with me so far? Okay, so the first chord, ba-da-dum-bum, it's an A minor 7. Then it goes to a D7. Then it goes to the G major 7. Then to a C major 7. Okay, real straight ahead stuff. We're going to start with the G major 7 because that's the 1 chord. The C major 7 is the 4 chord. The A minor is the 2nd chord in G major. And then the D7 is the 5 chord of G. Now it kind of goes like this. G major is the 1st chord, A minor is the 2nd chord, B minor is the 3rd, C major 7 is the 4th chord, D7 is the 5th chord, and we have E minor 7, which is the 6th chord, and then the 7th chord is an F sharp diminished if you're using a triad. If you're using the whole chord, it's an F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Some people call it a half diminished. I'm not really crazy about that. That's just me. Now, the 2-5-7, like that. Now the 5-7 goes to the 1 chord. great thing about 5/7s, they can go to almost any chord. Okay, if I could have a 5/7 of 2, 5/7 of 4, 5/7 of 6, 5/7 of 3, 5/7 flat 3, etc., etc., etc. It just goes on and on and on. But it's real diatonic. Everything's within the key for this example. Now, if I were just to play the chord changes, they're the same thing as above. A minor, D7, G major 7, C major 7. Now, let me play those for you, and then I'll come back. Okay, so this is Autumn Leaves, just straight black chords. A minor 7, D7, G major 7, C major 7. Now that's what's on the board, but the song finishes like this. F minor 7 flat 5, B7 flat 9, and then it resolves to an E minor 7. Now a keyboard player wouldn't just play just black chords like that. They would more likely play something like this. Okay, so that's what the chords sound like. Okay, we're back. I played the chords for you, so you get an idea of what it sounds like. Even though they're not in the traditional key, it still works. It still gives you an idea of what the sound is like. Now, the chord patterns real straight. Play it a little faster. Real straight ahead. Okay? Nobody's going to play that like that. Okay? But it gives us some ideas of what the chords are and what should be happening. One thing you can do with just a very simple straight ahead chord scale pattern like this is take the very first note and don't play it on the 1 as a melodic instrument that's playing the melody or improvising. I would assume that you would have a keyboard player, a bass, drums at least, or maybe just a keyboard player and a bass, or just a keyboard player, whatever you have, or just a guitar player, whatever you got. More than likely, they're going to play the 1 somewhere along the way. Unless you're playing reggae, most modern music, at least Western music, everybody plays the 1. All right. As an improviser, it's great not to play the 1 so that your first note is heard. You either play before the beat leading into it, you know, like the melody does, ba-da-dum, that's on the 1. Ba-da-dum, it's on the 1. Ba-da-dum, bum, on the 1. Bum-dee-doo, 1. Okay? That's an example of leading into a 1. Or you can play off the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. What happens is, more than likely, you're going to start syncopating. You're going to make it more rhythmic, just with a very straight ahead pattern like that. If I went same kind of thing, even though I just played it, you know, all ascending instead of ascending, descending, ascending, descending. Now let's take an example of using just one chord. Now, we're playing just straight ahead on the chord. Here. I'm going to use as an example the A minor 7. Now what I can do with the A minor 7, which is really cool, is I can start it on the 1 and just play A, C, E, G. Nothing wrong with that. Now we're not going to talk about scales today, the scale patterns, you know, because I could play a Aeolian mode, or call it an A natural minor scale, actually an A Dorian scale, excuse me. All right, because second chord of G, Dorian mode. But what if we take that and say I didn't want to start on the 1? Now I could still do the same thing, which a lot of times we practice. I could still just use those 4 chords. All right, yeah, very straight ahead. Yeah, you can do that, but there are other possibilities. Remember, we're only playing 4 notes out of the scale, but there's 7 notes in the Dorian mode, okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, G. Back to A again. 7 notes. Why don't we start on the 3rd and just work our way up? So C, E, G, and instead of A, we're going to go to 9. So the first one was 1, 3, 5, and then 7. Let's go 3, 5, 7, 9. Nine is perfectly acceptable. Okay? What does that end up being? That ends up being a C major 7. Perfectly acceptable. So, using the C major 7, my next chord is a D7. Or, okay? So, this, now remember, one of the things we want to do, I didn't talk about it up here, is there's 2 things we want to keep in mind. Let me talk about it right now. 2 things we want to keep in mind. One is guide tone lines. Now, what are guide tone lines? They're just important notes along the way. 1 important note per measure, maybe 2 important notes per measure if the chords are happening fast. And it just gives you a target to hit along the way. You don't have to hit it. It's just nice if you do. It reinforces the melody. For example, C to C is a common tone, but then we go to a B, C major 7. And then the next chord, which I don't have on the board, has an A in it, which carries over for the 2-5. All right? That's the guide tone line. And almost every song has it. Blues has it. Almost all the jazz songs have it. And sometimes it's not always scale-wise like this. Sometimes it may move. Now, the other thing that's really important is what we call leading tones, or voice leading. Now, leading tone is usually the 7th degree going to the 1. But sometimes it can work the other way around, too. But we're going to talk about voice leading. Now, what happens here on this G, I'm going to take this G and go to the F, sharp, only down by a half step. And it's very strong. Boo, boo, doo, ba, dum. Really strong. And then this A wants to resolve to the G. That's 2 to 1. Instead of 1 to 7, 2 to 1. Very strong voice leading. And then the F sharp, now we can go two ways with this. Now the F sharp, if I went to the G, I'd end up on a B at the end. I'm not really crazy about that spot for my next chord. So I decided, as an improviser, I'm going to go to the E. Why? Because I like that sound better. I like the way that chord sounds. Ba ba da boom. Okay, C major 7. Instead of ending on the 7, I end on the 5. I'm happier with it. Okay, so let's get back to, we went 1, 3, 5, 7. We did 3, 5, 7, 9. Now, what's the next one we can use? Let's start on the 5 chord. I mean the 5 note. Or the 5th degree. We're going to go 5, 7, 9, and this is 11. Now, we could have called it the 4, but the way we're stacking it, we'll call it an 11. Especially on a minor chord, 11 is perfectly acceptable. Now, one of the things is, if you're playing this, say it was on a major 7, and you played an 11, well, as long as you don't hang out there and make a big deal of it, it's perfectly good to hit it and move on, and don't worry about it, okay? It's acceptable because it's in scale. So, this is an E minor 7. Now, what's cool about this, I can go E minor 7, now D7, then to, now if I were just going back and forth, I can go E minor 7, D7, C major 7, D7, to the A minor 7, to the D7. Okay, so this gives you just more possibilities to think about while you're playing. And you don't have to play them in root position. You can play them in any inversion you want. Okay, starting on any particular note that you might want. Okay, so this is playing very inside, but at the same time, I'm playing, how do I put it? A little extended, okay? I'm playing what's called chord extensions, okay? Or upper structures. A couple of different names for this, okay? So give this a try. Root position, starting on the 3rd, starting on the 5th. Just gives you more tools to work with in your belt as you're improvising. So you're not always just playing just the chords, okay? You can play on top of that. And then if you mix in scales, you mix in chord scales, now you're starting to improvise and compose all at the same time. Okay? Questions, comments, please leave them. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this, give me a like, subscribe. I'll try to do more. If you have suggestions for more videos, I'll try to do more. Now that I've got a new cell phone, I can do these videos much easier than I used to be able to. And I'll try to put up some PDFs for you guys too. So if you want them, you can be able to download them and get all this in a PDF format. Okay? Thank you. Again, I'm Ralph Martin with Brass Dragons Music. Thank you. Have a great day. Have fun improvising. Take care.